Look, imagine waking up every single morning, putting in your 40, maybe 50 hours a week, and basically doing everything society told you to do, right? You studied hard, you landed a decent job, you avoided those crazy risks, and you're trying your absolute best to save a little cash. But somehow life just feels so much harder than it did even just a few years ago. Rent keeps climbing. That grocery bill? Yeah, it stings a lot more every single month. And buying a house? For millions of us, that literally feels like a total fantasy now. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are breaking down exactly why you might be doing everything perfectly right, but still feel like you're just constantly falling behind.
Okay, so let's dive into this central mystery here. Did everybody just suddenly get lazy? Did the middle class just stop working hard? No way, not even close. Actually, the data shows us that the average worker today is more productive than literally ever before in human history. So why on earth does it feel like the harder you grind, the further behind you fall? Well, the answer isn't some huge catastrophic event. It's actually a slow, really quiet financial squeeze that's been building up for decades. The rules of the economic game have fundamentally shifted right under our feet. And honestly, if you don't understand what's happening, you're playing a game you just can't possibly win.
Which brings us to Section 1, the middle class paradox and the growing wealth gap.
For most of the 20th century, the middle class was the ultimate American dream. Back then, a single income could buy you a pretty nice suburban home, raise your kids, fund family vacations, and still leave enough left over for a super comfortable retirement. But today, wow, home prices have completely detached from reality. In a lot of cities, homes are actually earning more in passive equity in a single year than the people living inside them earn in their actual salary. It's crazy. And this traps incredibly hardworking families in a vicious cycle of paying higher and higher rent. And every time that rent goes up, it just vaporizes money that should have been building their own future wealth.
And that brings us to the silent thief in the room, inflation. Picture this. Your boss calls you in and gives you a 3% raise. You celebrate, right? You're doing great. But if your basic living expenses, we're talking groceries, utilities, insurance, if those jump by 5%, your actual purchasing power just shrank. So technically, yeah, your paycheck is bigger, but you are working just as hard, only to afford less and less. This is the exact trap millions are caught in right now. The paycheck grows, for sure, but the real wealth, it just doesn't. And here is where we hit the brutal mathematical limit of the traditional middle-class strategy, the number 24. See, no matter how hard you work, no matter how much overtime you manage to pick up, you are strictly capped by the 24 hours in a single day. When you're just exchanging your time for wages, you are fighting a battle with a very hard ceiling. Time has limits, and eventually, you're just going to run out of it.
That mathematical limit, that is the core driver of the wealth gap. The wealthy don't really rely on salaries. They rely on ownership. They own businesses, stocks, real estate, things that literally grow in value while they're fast asleep. Meanwhile, the middle class depends primarily on wages, trading time for dollars. And guys, that is a race that time is always going to win. The wealth gap isn't widening because rich people are somehow working more hours. It's widening because their money is doing the heavy lifting for them.
Let's move into Section 2, the hidden debt trap, and how it's actively draining wealth. A lot of people think the biggest expense for the middle class is taxes, but actually, it's debt. Between mortgages, car loans, student loans, and credit cards, thousands of dollars are flying out of the average household's bank account every single month. Individually, a couple $100 here or there doesn't seem totally devastating, but when you combine it all, it is a massive wealth drain. You are literally using your money to pay for the past, which means that money can never, ever be invested for your future.
The wealthy earn interest. The middle class pays it. Think about that for a second. It is one of the most profound realities of our modern economy. The financial system beautifully rewards people who own assets, and it absolutely punishes anyone who borrows. Every single time you make a minimum credit card payment, you're basically just tipping the bank for the privilege of being broke. It is one of the largest, most unnoticed daily wealth transfers happening in the world today.
And look, we aren't talking about luxury debt here. Nobody's buying a yacht. These are the modern financial landmines of basic existence. Millions of students are leaving college carrying massive debt before they even earn their very first real paycheck. Then you add in healthcare. Just one unexpected medical emergency or a really high deductible can literally erase years of careful saving in a single afternoon. In childcare, don't even get me started. For lots of parents, the cost is so astronomically high that an entire salary is wiped out just to cover daycare. You aren't spending recklessly, you're just trying to survive.
Now let's add the breakneck speed of artificial intelligence into the mix. Technology has always shifted jobs around, sure,
But AI is accelerating this change faster than we have ever seen before. Tasks that used to take entire teams days to complete, they're now being done by algorithms in minutes. Companies become highly efficient, their profits soar, but the workers, they're left scrambling. The reality is, if you stop learning right now, the modern economy is going to actively leave you behind.
So that classic playbook our parents and grandparents used, it's officially dead. You know the one? Go to school, get a secure job, put your head down for 40 years, and retire to a beach. The uncomfortable truth is that the economy just simply no longer guarantees success through that old formula. It's rewarding an entirely different set of rules today. So if you keep following those old steps, you're going to be left wondering why you are sprinting on a treadmill but somehow moving backwards.
All right, let's pivot to some solutions in Section 3, learning the new rules and adapting for wealth. Every major economic shift creates two groups of people, the ones who complain about the old rules and the ones who learn the new ones. The old rules relied heavily on just sheer effort, collecting your wages and trying to manage high debt. But the new rules? They demand value, adaptability, and ownership. The most financially successful people today don't just work hard. They cultivate financial knowledge and they focus their energy on creating value and actually owning the results of their work. So what does this new Wealth Builders Playbook actually look like in practice? Well, first off, it means not relying on just a single paycheck. It's about building multiple income streams, consistently investing in broad stock market index funds, and acquiring assets that actually generate income. Maybe you start a small online side business. None of these things are going to happen overnight, obviously, but they slowly and surely change the fundamental direction of your money. You're shifting your dollars from flowing out to institutions to finally working for you. And we really have to understand the massive difference between looking wealthy and actually being wealthy. A high salary can totally give you the appearance of success, right? The nice car, the expensive dinners. But if every single paycheck disappears into high housing costs, debt, and lifestyle inflation, you are creating zero actual wealth. True financial security comes from accumulating assets. Those are things you own that grow in value and pay you, completely independent of the hours you clock at a 9-to-5.
Ultimately, the economy doesn't reward effort alone. It rewards value. The future isn't going to belong to the people who just clock the most hours and burn themselves out. It's going to belong to the people who learn the fastest, who adapt to AI and digital transformations, and who figure out how to provide undeniable value in a rapidly changing world. The more value you can create, the more opportunities you are going to command.
So I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to chew on. The middle class is under intense pressure from housing, inflation, debt, and technology. The game everyone is trying to figure out, it has already changed. So are you going to keep playing by the old rules, just hoping sheer effort will eventually save you? Or will you take control and master these new economic realities? Take a really hard look at where your money is flowing this month. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.